All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have you here. We'll get started in just a moment. Just want to give everyone a minute to get settled. I love that everyone is already using the chat. That is awesome. Please feel free to let us know where you're calling in from. We'd love to see it. So give everyone just a second and then we'll go ahead and get started. This is awesome. Love the energy already. It's great. Atlanta. Perfect. Okay, we're a minute in. We'll get started. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Nicole Kaysen. I'm the event marketing specialist here at Consensus. And we're so excited to have the Better Career team with us here today. So this webinar is presented by Consensus. Consensus is the product experience platform that empowers sales teams to deliver interactive demos, engaging product tours, and immersive simulations, unlocking stakeholder insights, reducing friction in the sales cycle, and accelerating every deal. And you can learn more at goconsensus.com. So I would like to just give a little plug for DemoFest X London. We will be there October 8th of this year. We had an awesome time in New York City and San Francisco earlier this year. And we're now excited to go to London. So if you can join us, we would absolutely love it. You can register at demofest.com. I will also put the link to register in the chat after this. Okay, so before we jump in, I would just like to encourage everyone to participate in the webinar by using the chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen. Our speakers will answer any questions at the close of the session, but feel free to use the Q&A box on the right side of your screen to ask any questions anytime during the session. We will be sure to get to them at the end. And if you're having any technical difficulties, just find that gear icon at the bottom of your screen. That'll give you some info on troubleshooting and get you sorted out there. So with that, I would like to welcome our speakers for today's session. So we are joined by Maddie Stremick and Yuji Higashi, who are the co-founders of Better Career. And joining them is Courtney Zam and Shamil Turner. So with that, welcome to the stage. You guys can all join me up here now. Perfect. And I will turn the rest of the time over to you guys. All right.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Amazing. Well, welcome everyone. We're so excited for today's session. Thank you, Consensus, for having us. In today's session, we're going to be talking about
Loser. In today's session, we're going to be talking about something.
I'll step in here. So where's the slides? Let's go to the slides here.
I think she's back. Okay.
She's back.
Okay. Can we see the slides?
Yes.
Perfect. Amazing. Sorry about that, folks. Like I said, so excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about 6 steps to fast track your SE career. So what this is going to look like is we're actually going to walk through a framework developed by the one and only Yuji. He'll talk more about it here shortly, and then invite the panel to discuss different ways that you can really think about being strategic and growing your career. So before we actually introduce our amazing panel, just wanted to give a little bit of insight into who we are at Better Career. So Yuji and I founded Better Career specifically for account executives and SEs. And so what this looks like is we really focus on one-on-one job pursuit coaching. So this is for ICs, for leaders, as well as pivoters. So people that are actually pivoting into pre-sales or sales engineering for the first time. And then secondly, we also do SE dinners across the globe. So we will actually be in Seattle next month, and then London, where we're also going to go to a demo fest. Highly recommended. It's a wonderful time. And then lastly, we also do go-to-market recruiting and talent matching. So we are really focused on enabling and empowering SEs in their careers. careers. And so that's really what we're going to get into today. Now, before we actually get into the framework, we're going to do some introductions here. I'll start off really quickly. My name is Maddie Stremick. Typically, I'm based in Nashville, Tennessee. Right now, I am in Hawaii and it's 5 a.m., so it's a little early for me. But my background is really in HR, recruiting, as well as pre-sales enablement, where I led Pre-Sales Academy at the Pre-Sales Collective. So really focused on, growing people's careers, recruiting, and the enablement side. All right, I'll pass it off to Yuji.
Yeah, hey everyone, great to be here. A lot of familiar names in the chat already, so love to see you all in there. My name is Yuji Higashi. I'm a co-founder of Better Career, like Maddie mentioned. I'm based out here in Seattle. And previous to this, I led a global SC team at a company called Outreach. I've always been passionate about pre-sales and community, so that also eventually led me to co-found Presales Collective, which some of you might be familiar with. So did that for a while, and then eventually realized I really enjoyed helping people in their careers, which then led me to co-found Better Career along with Maddie. So that's where we are today. So that's a little bit about me. I'll pass to Samil to introduce himself.
Hey folks, Shamil Turner. I have, goodness, been in pre-sales for about 13 years, working for some amazing companies such as Metalogix, a Microsoft partner, Dropbox, Meta, or I should say Facebook before they were Meta, and now Figma, where I've been at for the past 4.5 years, where I got to hire 17 solution consultants globally. And I will mention I'm hiring 3 more, so shoot your shot. And I'm glad to bring all that experience to you today.
And I think I'm here to round us out. I'm Courtney. I'm currently head of sales engineering at Confiant, have been doing SE work for the past 12 years across a bunch of different companies with a ton of incredible SE talent and leadership. I'm based in Connecticut. Shout out New Haven Pizza, best in the world. I will fight you if you disagree because you're incorrect. And outside of SE work, I love music. I have 2 upcoming concerts that I won't shut up about. I'm really excited to go see My Chemical Romance and LCD Sound System the next couple weeks. So if you're going to any of those shows, I will see you there.
Easy.
Love it. Okay, so before we dive in, I just want to kick things off by sharing a little bit about how we came up with this framework. And it's really after coaching hundreds of SEs and SE leaders, we've seen a lot of patterns with SEs in particular who have fast-tracked their career. And so we developed this framework to help you in your career. Now, it's not just about climbing the corporate ladder or climbing this mountain here that you have in front of us, though it definitely will help with that, right? If you want to get a promotion or move into management, a lot of this will very much apply. But what it's really about, and most importantly, it's about building a fulfilling career for yourself, a career that excites you to get out of bed every morning. And that could look different for different people, and that's okay. But look, let's be real. You're here because you have some career goals, maybe big career goals. And I'm guessing you've also noticed how ridiculously fast the tech and the sales engineering world is evolving, right? It's hard enough just to keep pace, let alone try to get ahead of the curve these days. I know I've been struggling to keep up with all the advancements in AI, right? But that's why you showed up here today, right? You want to reach those career goals, and everything we're covering today is aimed at helping you get there faster. So in this session, we'll guide you through each of the 6 steps of the framework that will help you fast track your career as an SC. And you'll get to hear from these amazing panelists who will share real experiences from their careers, as well as from people they've coached or mentored on their team, since they're all leaders here. And then you'll get practical advice and examples that you can ideally apply to your career immediately. So what are these 6 steps that we're going to share with you today? Well, Maddie is going to share with you the first one.
Amazing. So we're going to start at the very bottom of this mountain and kind of work our way up climbing as you think about your career. Now, this one kind of seems like an obvious one that, it's all about when you first get started in a new role or you're thinking about what's next for you. It's about excelling in your role. And really, your first 6 months is the most important because it solidifies your entire reputation. So if you can come in and hit the ground running, go above and beyond early, then that can just take your career and open up so many opportunities. So what does this look like practically? It looks like understanding the core expectations of the role. That means you and your manager are on the exact same page as far as what success looks like. And then knowing the product, really being that product expert, practicing essential skills, storytelling, communication, and ultimately supporting your customers. The goal here is also, think about how quickly can you get in front of customers. If the expectations is 90 days or 6 months, depending on where you're at, try to do it much more quickly, get in front of people sooner. So considering we've got a group of SE leaders here, I would love to hear from the panel. Tell us about a time a top performer really stood out in their 90 days. What did they do differently? Maybe I'm going to pass it off to, Courtney, do you want to take this one first?
I can, and I'm actually thinking of two. I promise that I'll tell it in a TLDR fashion. The reason these two stand out is they actually were very different individuals. One was a career seller who was pivoting into the SE world for the first time, and the other actually was a deep subject matter expert in the solution we were selling, but also had never done SE work. So brand new SEs, but coming into the roles in two very different positions. When I think about the career seller pivoting to SE, naturally, the thing that they needed to get accelerated on really quickly was the product and the platform. And this individual really took the opportunity not just to get demo ready for the interview, but to get demo ready. They did things like integrate their trial system into Salesforce to see how those connections worked. This person spent time understanding the workflows and the discovery questions that they would ask in order to better demonstrate those workflows. And that really got them off to a very fast start. And that person's really excelling and is one of the top performers on the team today. I think about the other one who had never done SE work, but was a deep subject matter expert. He then needed to get attuned to the sales side. So what did he do to do that? He actually spent a ton of time with our sellers, not just with the SEs, but with the sellers. And when we put him on his first demos, he actually had 2 back-to-back demos on his first day showing the product, which everyone has been a new SE somewhere. That's really hard because you usually want time between calls to prep, to take a deep breath, get a glass of water, walk around. But he had a really good attitude about it. He's now a lead SE, selling it to the enterprise, and is doing really well in the team as well.
Amazing. I love that. Yuji, what about you?
Yeah, I have a few examples. I mean, I'll go the other way too, because just to reiterate the importance of nailing that first impression, especially when you start in a new role or new company, that's advice I always like to give to people that are starting in that new role or new company is go all in for your first few months. Even if that means working late, putting extra hours in, just to really solidify yourself and brand yourself as an A player. Because on the flip side of that, right, if you don't, I've had examples of people on my team that have kind of struggled out of the gate, and meaning that they would, ramp a bit slower. They struggle to do really good demos or get certified on doing a good demo. And it was hard to put them in front of AEs early on, or when we did, the AEs weren't really comfortable with them on their calls or on their demos. And I can think of one person in particular that had that hard time coming out of the gate. Now, fortunately for him, he realized that we had some hard talks, and he was able to then work closely with the manager, one of the managers on my team, and they put a lot of time into coaching him up to getting him really good at demos, and eventually turned it around and became a really high performer. But for him, it was much more of an uphill battle. And so that's where really solidifying yourself and branding yourself as a player or somebody that can get the job done and learn quickly in the beginning is very important, because it's going to help, I think, in a lot of cases, set the trajectory for the rest of your tenure in this company, and perhaps for a lot of your career. And so that's where you really want to focus on, establishing a strong first impression.
I love that you showed the opposite angle as far as, what does that look like when you don't do this? Shamil, what about you?
Yeah, so I'll even take kind of what I think, and then some evidence of a premier player. So when building a team, one thing I look for is how can your SE be different from what you already have on the team? Do they have a special superpower that they can bring, either technical backbone or experience in a certain area? So I actually end up hiring a lot of folks that aren't traditional SEs, that have been product managers or even software engineers in the past. But ultimately, like what makes this person unique amongst the team that I have is like within that first 90 days, they tried to bring their unique skill set and their experience directly to the team to affect problems that have existed that no one had time to address. Or in this particular case, this person had deep experience with identity providers and SCIM APIs across Okta, Entra ID, etc. And one of the first things that they acknowledged was like, our team is getting pinged a ton by our support team as like an escalation point. So as they were learning the platform and had this space to learn the platform, they brought their skill set forward and they actually built an FAQ based on the Slack questions that were happening, the customer scenarios that they were reading through, and then edge cases that other SEs have encountered. So they were establishing relationships with other SEs, asking them about their experience where they had depth. And then ultimately, they created an FAQ that they provided to the business to help kind of solve and let our support team do their job in a better way. And what that turned to, like the impact on the tail end of it, we actually aligned them as a DRI with the global support team to be able to up-level the skill set of an entire global org in that domain. And that has made the life of an SCF much better because now we had a lot more selling time available to us versus kind of post-sales implementation work. So, first 90 days leaning into where you have a skill set, meeting with people, talking about that, and then bringing that forward to help drive a larger and outside impact for yourself. So it was really incredible what this individual did.
Yeah, that's amazing. And he did that within the 90-day window of him ramping up?
Within 90 days, leaning into his existing skill set, right? It's like, okay, I have to learn this new product, but where can I bring the impact immediately from what I know?
Yeah, no, that's great. And these are all really great stories. Another thing that I'll add to is I've seen, SEs do this and it be really successful is, talk to the team, talk to your manager, find out who gives the best demos, who facilitates the best discovery conversations, and then go to those Gong recordings and kind of study and mirror that excellence. I think that can be a great, speaking of resources that are great in that 90-day period, finding and putting together a collection of what are the best demos that you can model after. Which kind of gets into our, second point in our journey here, which is all about building internal relationships. So building that trust and rapport, not only with your manager and your immediate team, but also across the aisle in other teams. SEs are, amazing because they get to work with so many different teams and are really cross-functional. So what this can look like is becoming friends with people in product, in marketing, in post-sales and customer success, and finding different ways that you can really go above and beyond to support them and help them, make them your friends. Because that's also a great way to, learn and get comfortable at a company. So let's see, what are some examples of this? Why is building internal relationships so important? I'll just kind of open it up to the floor as far as who wants to jump in.
Yeah, I'll start this time. Yeah, so I mean, like ultimately in sales, trust is everything in this role. Like trust with your sales counterpart, account executives, account managers, trust with your other teammates, your other SCs, and then ultimately trust with your manager. But like it's hard to build that relationship. Like the core of trust is usually proof that you had some demonstration, some moment where you realize this person's more than capable, but they actually can excel in what they.
Oh no, I think we lost him. All right, well, maybe we'll circle back. Courtney, you want to jump in here?
I can. I was actually going to take a little bit of a different angle on this, which is the internal relationships outside of the SE org are also incredibly important. And I also want to have a call out that a lot of us are working in either hybrid or remote roles today.
And I'm back, maybe.
Oh, hello. You are back.
I'm back. I'm sorry, guys. Blame WeWork. Seriously. No, But what I was saying with trust, what I was trying to get at is that to be able to build internal relationships, you have to kind of have that proof. Just like with a customer, you may bring a customer story for proof. With your counterparts, they have to have that moment of proof where you're able to build trust, and that doesn't happen organically with your teammates, with your other SCs, with people that are cross-functional in terms of the relationships within your organization. You have to be very intentional about it. And in one case, with the first landing crew, I hired 6 folks globally. The first landing crew ended up setting up their own meeting internally where they would just meet as ICs across the globe and like kind of communicate around family stories, customer stories, just kind of the day-to-day life. And unfortunately, I was not included as a manager. I completely had FOMO, but it was very important then for them to build their internal relationships and establish connection with one another. So again, SCs, you have the ability to kind of create your own ways to build connections, but do it collectively. Don't do it in a silo.
Yeah. And if that doesn't exist, that can be something that you create and facilitate, even if maybe you're newer to the company. Courtney, I know then you started sharing earlier.
I did. To jump back in, I also want to recognize and acknowledge that a lot of us are in hybrid and remote roles today. And so the opportunity to build those cross-functional relationships, it may be harder than it has been historically. To Shamel's point around being intentional, what can this look like? It can look like any opportunity you have to pair up with someone in another part of your organization, product, marketing, sales, do it. Ask your manager, where are there opportunities for SCs to lean in with product, with marketing, not just to learn what these other teams are working on, but have it feedback. Whether it's sales is running this particular campaign, I can create some resources to help build pipeline. Marketing is pushing these 3 industries. Am I set up so that I could demo against those use cases? There's so much that as an SC, you can ask yourself, if the organization's concerned or focused on this, what can I do to bring my work to bear to support that initiative? And I do think that means being incredibly intentional and making sure that you have the space in your calendar, in your day, in your week to do that work, which I know is hard to balance against the demands of the customer-facing stuff. I think we're going to talk a little bit about AI in a bit, which I think can be a huge unlock in making yourself just a little bit more efficient so that you can do that kind of work.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I'll just jump in really quickly to add to, I mean, in sales and sales engineering, it's all about team selling, right? You cannot win and close deals and win business by yourself. And you need so many people across the organization to be successful, especially in enterprise and more strategic deals. And so having those internal relationships are absolutely critical. So whenever you join a new team, especially in the beginning, when you join a new team, I always encourage new SCs to be intentional about certainly meeting all the people on your SC team and your AE team. That's very important, but also set up some informal coffee chats, whether it's virtual or in person, with somebody in product and somebody in engineering and somebody in the support team or the success team. So you're starting to build those relationships across the org that are ultimately going to help you sell and move deals forward when you need to in certain situations. So one quick story that I'll share is that one guy on my team, he was a remote SC, senior SC. Every time he would come back to our headquarters in the office, he would bring our support team candy or donuts for the entire team. There was like 30 of them, but he gave them all donuts or candy because he knew that he wanted to recognize them for the work that they've helped him with in supporting him on different proof of concepts or really complex demos that he had to build out. If he'd run into a bug or some sort of technical situation, he would always have to lean on that support team. So he just wanted to show that appreciation and then also build a relationship with them. So that's just one small example of how to foster that relationship.
Yeah. Kirk put in the chat, bribery goes a long way.
Yeah, it can help in the right way.
It certainly helps. These are all really great examples. One thing that I think can be really helpful if you're joining maybe a larger organization and you're trying to figure out who should I have conversations with on these different teams. Say you get a conversation with someone with product. In that coffee chat, ask them, who else do you think would be a good idea for me to connect with? And then that person can kind of also, kind of warm introduce you to that other person. So then you're kind of creating this consecutive, sequence. I know at larger companies, sometimes it's a little bit harder to figure out who should you meet with versus smaller companies, a little easier to just, Slack someone and get on their calendar. So that's one way to kind of think about it in trying to expand your reach. All right, so let's talk about our third step here. This is all about being visible and broadening your impact. So this is, we talked about meeting expectations. This is going above and beyond and exceeding them. So taking on challenging projects, raising your hand for bigger opportunities, anything you can do to present to your team, your company, publicly in conferences. A lot of times we think about, if I work really hard, then that's going to, pay off for me. But if people aren't seeing you work really hard, if it's lacking that visibility, if you're not getting in front of leadership, then sometimes, even though you have good quality work, if it's not seen by the right people, it's not going to take you as far. So what's an example of someone, who raised their hand for a stretch project or found a way to make themselves visible in an authentic way? Anything unique that you've seen or that you all have done from your careers?
I can start us off because one really stands out to me. We were talking a lot about building credibility with especially your selling partners, where they see you not just as a technical expert, but someone who can ultimately unlock revenue for them and accelerate that revenue should they get in front of a customer. One thing that I saw as we were really trying to build pipeline in the past few years is SEs take a really active role in supporting their sales team and being very forward with that work. Example, if you've created something like an outreach email about a new product release, let's say it's got a demo in it, or if you use software like Consensus, you can throw a link in there. Actually, not just sharing that with your group of A's, but putting it in the Slack channel or talking about it in the team meeting. I think you have to be your own kind of like marketing and mouthpiece sometimes within organizations and not just expect others to share your work, but share it yourself. But I think sharing it in the context of how it will help someone not look at this thing I've done, but hey, other sellers that I don't work with, here is a template that I've created that you can send to your teams on this new product release, and hopefully you can build some pipeline off of it. I've seen that work really well because it's not just about, hey, look at this great work I've done, but look at how this work can impact you and build your pipeline.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Amazing. Eugene, go for it.
Oh, no, you got it, Shamil.
Yeah, go ahead, Shamil.
This actually recently happened with one of my most technical SEs in terms of their depth. They're very, very, very passionate about AI. We joke about their spend per month on the different AI tools that exist. And as our company was rolling out our internal offering for AI across not just solution consultants, but the entire customer experience and solutions org, just about 40 to 60 people. I never know the real count at the end of the day. There was just a foundational lack of understanding of all the elements of AI. And this person took it upon themselves of building not just a primer on AI, but an actual 15-minute training session that took people through like how models are actually built to their application in today's use cases of agentic AI. And they did this on their own. They brought it to me and said, hey, I'd love to present this at our offsite. And now internally, we've aligned them with our like go-to-market AI team. They're becoming kind of this person that the rest of the business goes to about strategy in this space. So it's just a fantastic way to elevate your profile by leaning into something you're passionate about, but also making it practical for everyone else.
Yeah, I love that example. I can think of a few. I mean, for me personally, this resonates a lot because I can remember points in my career that were very pivotal in my career where there was other opportunities came up. One was to actually go out and move to London for a year and build out an EMEA function or EMEA region for a company called Aptio that I was with. And it was scary at the time. I didn't know if I wanted to do it. And I eventually decided I'm just going to do it. And it was a great life experience. It also really helped kind of take my career in a different direction that I was very excited about in the end. I also had a chance to build out a services sales function at Aptio, which was, again, very scary at the time. Didn't know much about it, but I ended up figuring it out and, kind of raised my hand for that opportunity. So for me, like, there's a lot of examples of that I'm very grateful for, that I had those opportunities. And even though they're scary, at first, I encourage you to jump into them and take them full on, because they can really take your career to different places than you maybe would expect. And along the lines of the other examples, I had somebody on my team who we were trying to build a new demo framework, and he took that project on. He raised his hand. It was going to be a lot of work on top of his current workload of sales opportunities that he was working on, but he ended up undertaking that project with support from other people, including myself. But I mean, it took him like 6 months for us to build out a really quality one, but he got massive, accolades and recognition from the CEO, the CRO, all the sales leaders for the work that he did, because it really helped add a lot of value towards for our sales organization and sales engineering team as well. So that was a big project that comes to mind, as far as somebody, him raising his hand for that, and him being very visible. And I'm sure that, I can't remember exactly, but I'm sure that led to some promotions and raises for him as well. So that's an example.
Yeah, those are all incredible examples of taking initiative. One thing, Shamil, I like that you pointed out in your example is that person asked you if they could present on, I think, at the team meeting. So I think, one common theme here when it comes to visibility, it's not just can you do the project, but also going out of your way to maybe share it with others and implement it across the org, or, get it in front of the right people too. Because sometimes you can do something silently behind the scenes, but then it doesn't have as far as reach. Mm-hmm. So let's go into our fourth topic here today, which is all about being a continuous learner. So when you think about your career, Eugene mentioned earlier, everything's changing with AI. We're about to talk about AI. But a key part of this that we like to think about it's also being very coachable and seeking out feedback, proactively asking for it. Subscribing to different newsletters. There's a lot of great thought leaders, even on LinkedIn, a lot of folks that share newsletters. Consensus has really great content as well. Investing in training, external programs, coaching, getting a mentor. These are amazing ways to learn. So there's a lot that we could talk about here, especially around, coachability and all of those other great things. But I want to talk about AI. So do you all have any examples of top performers who, how did they go about learning or adopting AI on the team? Any recent examples?
I can shoot. Yeah.
Do it.
What's really important. Oh, sorry. What's really important here is I think taking a practitioner's mindset really, really helps SCs. And what I mean by practitioner's mindset, it's not waiting for that messaging framework from your company about their approach to AI. It's not kind of waiting till the deck is created and the demo flow is created. It's actually going out into your staging environment, working with product teams, and getting access to the AI tooling or your approach to AI first, and actually trying it out. We have a really fantastic SE. He's my longest tenured SE. That on a weekly basis, he's posting something into our team Slack channel about something he's tested over the week and a new feature that's available. There's been this Cursor versus Claude AI battle now, because it's like, wait, the literal LLM now has like an IDE baked in via terminal. So it's just being proactive and having this practitioner mindset about learning it. It's not going to be spoon-fed to you. You're going to see these webinars. You really have to lean in and test the stuff yourself.
Yeah, that's a great call. I mean, there's so much information out there, YouTube videos, you get access to, all these different tools that you can leverage now. So you can't wait anymore for it to be taught to you. Like, you have to go and seek it out and learn it in order to stay ahead. So I'm really glad you brought that up, Sunil.
Yeah. What I want to call out here is, when I think about AI, I actually think a lot about a library. When you walk into a library, there's vast knowledge and resources at your fingertips, but you still need to open the book and read it. And that doesn't just apply to using AI can fit into your workflows. It also means AI can't supplement like the deep knowledge and expertise that you need to build in your role. What it can do, though, is speed up translating your knowledge and expertise into something that's deliverable. I'll give you an example. I had an SE trying out recording a video of his demo for the first time. It just like wasn't tooling that he had used previously. And the idea is we were trying to record the demo so that we could use it for posterity, teach future SEs, teach our sellers. And he said, should I script myself first or should I do the video? And I said, do the video. Because here's what I was thinking. We used the video, we took the transcript, and we had AI turn that into the demo script. So he didn't have to write it. It was all in his head. He knew how to show the product and how to talk about it. But we got smarter about the order of operations we did things. AI couldn't have done that for him exclusively. He still needed his knowledge and expertise in order to deliver that video. But AI then sped up our ability to make that translatable into something like a demo script. So that's how I'd have everyone thinking about it. How can I use AI to like accelerate my depth of expertise, not just supplement where I don't have expertise or can't do something?
That's such a great example. I've definitely used AI in a similar capacity for like speaker notes, thinking back and, trying to improve something. Do you all have any other examples of what you're seeing folks use AI for like day-to-day SE activities?
Oh, for sure. This actually happened recently. We were provided kind of this requirements doc against an API that we host, and the SE kind of got caught in this like 15-page doc in terms of like reading through it and then like going against our API documentation and kind of figure out like how we align. And I'm like, yo, like we have an enterprise license to ChatGPT, like share both docs in a project and say, hey, can you talk about where we align, what the gaps are? And it just accelerated. Like it took something that they were prepared to like spend hours on to be able to come back to the customer. And then it just highlighted what are the gaps that they can focus on so they can figure out how can they sell around it, work around it, make sure there's still enough value there for the customer. So simple things like that took a lot of burden off of kind of that mental churn of going, here's the document, where in the API does this exist, and back and forth. So it was actually such an accelerator.
Yeah, being very complimentary to the work. Last thing on AI before we move on here is what we're hearing a lot from other leaders is that they're often asking in interviews, how have you used AI? How have you adopted AI on the team? Just out of curiosity, do you all ask any AI related questions in your interviews?
Yeah,
what about you, Shamil? I know you're hiring.
Yeah, you kind of have to, right? I think if you're not familiar with like development at all today, like you should get familiar with what these tools can do to accelerate. Like the audience that you're selling to is usually like a set of developers or your ICP maybe. For us, developers, design, whoever. But you have to make sure people are understanding and at least tinkering with this stuff. So usually the question is like, what AI tooling are you leveraging today? How's it updating your workflow? How's it making you more efficient? And those are simple questions, but if you're great at interviewing, if you're great as an SC, you're going to create a story from that. You're not just going to answer like, oh, I use this and this is why. You're going to really dive into like how to accelerate it, yourself in your current position. So it's kind of like an open-ended question, but the really great SCs during interviewing like will turn that into a moment to tell a story.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. Courtney, what about you? Are you asking those questions?
I am, but what I'll add is if you don't get asked, there will be opportunities to bring it up. If you're asked about how you upskilling yourself during your job search, talk to me about how you prepped for a recent demo. Bring up how you've leveraged AI, even if you're not directly asked. I will also add on, this is kind of going in a different angle, ask your customers how they're using it. ask your customers if they're bringing AI into their own workflows if you're enrolled today and you're not on the job hunt, because it can glean or help you understand where they're either stuck on AI and maybe your solution can help, or where AI might come into play when they think about where your system integrates or what data they might want to consume into another space.
I love that. What an excellent angle. All right. So moving on from AI, let's talk about developing external networks. So great way to think about this is, leveraging LinkedIn, joining, communities, for example, Presales Collective, showing up to events like Consensus, Demo Fest, finding ways to get in front of people from other teams. A great way to, learn, expand your reach, and also, provide opportunities if you want to move companies. You never know who's hiring or, who's looking for a role. So let's talk about, have you seen a team member build external credibility or a network that really made a big difference? Maybe a creative way that they built their brand. I'm going to give this one, Yuji. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say since, running Presales Collective and Better Career Communities, we've seen so many examples of people landing opportunities or, building their brand through connections they've made, both virtually and in person. And the reality is, as a SC or even SC leader, you're probably not going to spend more than 5 years at your company. If you spend more than that, then that's awesome. But it's very uncommon these days to spend more than that at any tech company. So building that external network is hugely important. And I think the most recent example I have is we were working with an SC leader who was looking for a new role. They were on the market looking for a new role, and they actually made a connection through, I think it was through a dinner that they met another leader at, and eventually through that connection got ahead of an opportunity that wasn't publicly posted for a new leadership role. And they were able to interview for that role and eventually got into that role and accepted an offer for that role. So that was one specific example of how an external network helped that person get into a really outstanding opportunity through a job that was actually never posted. And so that's one example, but there are so many more. So again, this is something I stress all the time because I've felt the value of it. I've seen it time and time again through working with a lot of people through the community. The value of an external network and building relationships externally is massively important in your career.
Yeah, amazing. And so many jobs are being filled to some extent, behind the scenes. And if you're going up against a preferred candidate, then it's a lot harder. So it helps to know people, build those relationships, invest in early. Courtney, what about you? Do you have an example?
Mine's a little bit more personal. When I started as an SE leader, it was my first time leading people, and one of the things that actually helped me grow as a coach for anyone who is trying to either become an SE leader or just better at coaching people is actually mentoring those outside of my organization. So shout out to Yuji. The Presales Collective was a great way to build relationships with those that wanted mentorship and guidance outside of my organization. And why that was such an up level is it took sort of internal politics, for lack of a better term, and also historical knowledge out of the equation. And it was just what do I do in this scenario to build a better relationship with an AE or deal with a customer that's challenging or work through a product gap, where if you take some of the people-y and industry stuff out of it, then it's just principles. You're coaching on your principles, the things that you believe at your core are the right way to operate. And that will make you, I don't think just a stronger coach and mentor, but a stronger SE too. I think those that I've worked with that coach others actually end up bringing those coaching skills back into their AE relationships, which is one of your most important relationships in this role. And you have to do a fair amount of coaching of those individuals on their approach, or if you feel like there's someone who can take some learnings from another, there's tons of opportunities there. So I'd highly encourage it for everybody here.
Yeah, amazing. Courtney, I also feel like you've done this really well, but I feel like I've seen you on so many different, speaking events, kind of like today's. Great way to, build your brand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So your network will be tested, folks. Like it's so important not just to build your connection list on LinkedIn, but actually have an authentic connection so that people don't know like just like who you are as a great person, but they know beyond that, like your competencies, what you've done in the past. Because I know that, hiring, in the teams, eventually 20 plus people, at every great interview, I go out and check references. And I have to have a 30-minute call with like the people that you line up. And if they're just giving me fluff about how you're a great person, they have no understanding of what you do, and how you've executed in the past, there's going to be a problem. You're not going to move forward. A great way to do this in a practical sense, person to person outside of LinkedIn, is conferences. If you're ever at a conference and you're, setting up demo duty, that's life. Like that's what SEs have to do to help marketing and whatnot and great pipeline. When you're at these conferences, you get maybe an hour break here, 30 minutes there. Go to another booth, go to another software product that you're excited about, and have an authentic conversation about the world of sales engineering. Don't just sit there and like say, "Hey, demo your product." They know what they do. You know what they do. They know what you do. But just focus on some of the shortcomings of the practice of sales engineering. Talk out a topic that's outside of their product. That way, you establish real relationships. People connect over trauma more than they connect over a damn product. So talk about those customer traumatic moments, but build that network in an authentic way. Be intentional about it, not just I'm searching for a job, but just bring your stories to that person, connect on the human way, and that'll take you much further in terms of your network. And your hiring managers are checking your network. They are looking at your second level connections to accelerate you above others. One of the things that Mark Recruiter does consistently is like, hey, by the way, you have a second level connection to this candidate that applied. What do you know about them? Right. And we actually talk about that on a weekly basis when we're going through our pipeline. So be real about it, be authentic, not just I've connected, I'm good. Actually see if you can get those 15 minutes if it's virtual, or make sure you're using those conferences not just to represent your brand, but to represent yourself.
I love that. Being authentic, establishing those relationships. Courtney, earlier, you talked about mentorship as well in building relationships, which really is a great kind of a wrap up on our 6th point in our journey here, which is all about mentoring and coaching others. And this really goes hand in hand with what we just talked about on the networking front. A really, another great example to add to the list is I worked with an SE who went through an interview process, and she was the runner-up, didn't get the role, but, established such great rapport with the hiring manager that he then proceeded to mentor her for an entire year and really, was an advocate for her and ended up hiring her a year later. So you never know, even when you're interviewing, it's a great way to even think about it that you're also networking. So going back to the mentoring and coaching others, this looks like really finding ways to give, getting mentors for yourself, but then also teaching others. So it just gives you really great experience. It always feels good, but practically, what does this look like? Have you seen someone on your team that's really gone above and beyond to mentor or coach others? Like, how did that impact their career?
I'll jump in here maybe and just say, the reason this is the last step of the framework is because it's, in my mind, what makes your career truly rewarding and fulfilling. And you can do it any stage of your career, right? As far as coaching and mentoring, you don't have to be super experienced or senior. You can do it as an individual contributor as well. And it's where I personally found immense satisfaction in just coaching and mentoring others. One example I have is actually of somebody who did some external coaching and mentoring that helped her ultimately get promoted into a manager role. So she was a senior SC who ultimately wanted to become a manager, and she joined our team as a volunteer coach. And through that experience, she would coach SCs on how to become better SCs. And her company's leadership eventually noticed her involvement and mentioned that they saw her in different LinkedIn posts that we would post about her and her involvement in doing this coaching effort. And when she later got promoted into her SC manager position, they actually specifically cited some of this external coaching experience that she had as a key factor in their decision to move her into a management role. So that was like a very real example of how doing some coaching externally helped her progress in her own career, as well as, get fulfillment from helping people become better SCs.
That's such a great example. Courtney, what about you?
Yeah.
Well, I was actually thinking about if I could give some tips to folks on the call if they're asking themselves, like, okay, I want to do this, but how? I think the lowest hanging fruit is if your organization is hiring or has hired in the past 6 months, you're going to have new SCs on the team that need to learn from someone. And so I would be proactive about raising your hand and saying that you want to be one of those individuals. That is definitely how I have started to identify like the emerging talent on my own teams, those that don't just raise their hand for that work, but are supportive, consistent in providing actionable feedback, who genuinely care, as Eugene mentioned, and like have that desire to improve the careers of others. Like if you can showcase that, that goes such a long way, because that is not something that is easy to coach or develop in someone. I think you kind of either have it or you don't. And so I think by showcasing that earlier on, even if you're like not too tenured in an organization, there for a year or two, you know the ropes, you have the good foundation, you can still be incredibly valuable to somebody else who is trying to navigate that newness. As I mentioned earlier, creating opportunities for yourself outside of organization. So going into communities that may need support, or doing some volunteering through different organizations that might be running not just coaching opportunities, mentorship opportunities. Even I know there are like SE contests that you can sign up and judge. Those are great ways to also give back and provide some feedback. I will say that anyone that I've had the opportunity to either put into like a team lead position or a mentorship or coaching position, it hasn't just improved their career trajectory, but I think it's also improved themselves. The best thing is to recognize what you also might do on a demo. Maybe you have some filler words that you use a ton and you hear someone else say that and you go, man, when I hear that, it drives home for me why I might want to take a step back and work on that for myself. Or if you can feel someone feature dumping during their practice demo, that's going to make you better too, because you can recognize it in somebody else. It's going to build the self-awareness for you. So I know we talked all about giving back and this being an opportunity to influence others, but I promise it will influence you as well if you try it.
Yeah. Onboarding and helping folks that are newer to you is such a great example. I was just speaking with an SE and he's 3 months in, so he's brand new, but he was already mentoring and helping other folks get up to speed at 3 months. Because at 3 months, you still know more than folks that are just getting through the door. So that's such a great example, Courtney.
Yeah. As someone who spent about, 8 years as an IC, growth was always management. It's like I always wanted to get into management, and I never figured out what would help me cross that bridge. And this is exactly it. Mentoring and coaching is your opportunity to even understand if you care about like being someone's manager. It gets personal growth out of your purview, and it focuses on that other person's growth. The person is coming to you for coaching and mentoring. So take this opportunity. Onboarding is a big one. We definitely do that at my current company. We make sure that we have an onboarding buddy, and it gives our senior SEs opportunities to coach and to mentor. But I would challenge everyone, you have an opportunity to coach and mentor literally every day as you're working with your account executives. The beginning usually said, selling's a team sport. You have an account executive there. Their success is your success. Your success is their success. And that's supposed to come with feedback. That's supposed to come with critical conversations. So take the opportunity to layer in a framework and coach your AEs take that as an opportunity for people leadership. And I think it'll serve you well. So you don't have to seek it out. You don't have to look for other SEs all the time. It can be right in front of you with your AEs.
Yeah, that's great. Well, when we think about this framework as we kind of move forward into the Q&A session, please definitely ask any questions that you have for our incredible panelists. Please go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. But I wanted to go back to this particular slide just so you can kind of see the entire framework. The idea behind this is, yes, some of this seems very simple, but when you have that intentionality in your career, it allows you to be very strategic. So all the examples that the panelists brought up as far as being, proactive, all these different projects that they've seen folks do, things that have really set the top performers apart, those top performers are able to do that because they are so strategic. So taking a framework like this can really help you not only go very far, get promoted quickly, but also, build a really meaningful career. So we'll definitely be sharing this framework post coming out of today, but hopefully you've gotten some, tidbits as far as, practical ways that you can really think about taking your career to the next level. So we're going to go ahead and open up to Q&A from the chat. So if you have any questions, would love to hear from the audience. Nicole, do we have any questions so far?
Oh, there we go. We sure do. Yep. So if you just go over to the Q&A tab, Maddie, we can see them. I can go ahead and give you guys the first one, though. And let's go with, what does good and bad onboarding look like?
That's a great one.
I could take this one. As someone who created the first onboarding program for solution consultants at Figma to where we're at now, good is structured. It's filled with meeting individuals intentionally. It's filled with domain expertise in terms of whatever you're selling. They tell you why you're selling it in that space versus like, here is purely the product. It's a world where you're connecting with different individuals throughout the team intentionally. And then ultimately it's something that challenges you with milestones throughout. Bad is like, hey, come shadow me and I need you to hop on a call next week, which I've had to do before. So I'll stop there.
I'll just take a quickly different angle really briefly, but I think good onboarding in my mind, and I've been a startup guy, so it's a little bit different, but good onboarding in my mind is where you are the driver and you're going to own your own self onboarding and development. Of course, the company should give you good resources and good structure and all the tooling and the coaching that you need, but don't wait for that to come to you and for them to give that to you. I would say just take it and run with it. If you ask questions, meet with people, dig into the resources that are available, on the resources they provide, Google search, ChatGPT, do what you have to do to get yourself up to speed. Don't necessarily rely on the company's onboarding to get yourself to where you need to be. Because again, that goes back to the first impression, right? If you can get ahead in that first impression and branding yourself as somebody that is going to be a driver and owner of their own self-development, you're going to be a better place going forward.
Yeah. No, that's great. Going above and beyond even what's expected. Here's an interesting question. How do you coach a new hire who doesn't appear to be engaging and taking on an active approach to learning the product?
Ooh.
This is challenging, because you can't necessarily coach will. Someone has to have the will to do something and the motivation to a certain extent. A lot of SE onboarding can be self-driven. And so I think if I were their coach, I'd probably address it directly and ask them, I'm not sensing a ton of desire or excitement around getting yourself up to speed here. Tell me, is there something getting in your way? Is something blocking you? Like, help me understand where this resistance is coming from. And then setting the expectation of, for me, proficiency in this role, like learning this is going to be, it's a requirement. It's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. And so for us to be on the same page about how well you're doing, I need to have an understanding of why this is challenging for you so I can help you work through it.
Yeah. Just being upfront and having the conversation. I think that makes sense. Let's see, we have some more here. Nicole, I'm sorry, can you help me? I'm struggling on the Q&A feature.
You guys got some great questions. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. How often are top performers potentially limited by the size, potential growth of the company in regards to developing further within that specific company? I'm thinking of a lack of available promotions, even if being a top performer.
I'm dealing with this now with people that are, hitting 3-4 years, tenure. The reality, I'm kind of coining with my naming, but I call it grow through task, not title. Meaning you start looking for ways they can bring impact to other functions, other business processes as a leader. And as individual contributors, you have to ask for that. You have to be intentional about it, because sometimes your manager may think everything is fine and they don't know that you're actually in a position where you want to do more and you're getting stagnant. The reality is, like, for your next position, you're bringing your stories, you're bringing evidence, you're bringing examples of how you executed previously. And the worst thing that can happen is if you're just telling us how you've performed demos and you haven't worked on the business, but you only worked in the business. So ensure that you're looking for ways to bring impact before you just look at that next opportunity. At least that's what I try and keep my folks around. That's what I tell them.
Yeah, that's great. I know I think it looks like we're officially at time. So we are going to go ahead and wrap it up here, and I'm going to pass off to Nicole to end out this session. But thank you again, Courtney, Shamil, Yuji. Amazing perspectives, and thanks for all the great engagement in the chat as well. It's been so great to see everyone's perspectives and adding in examples too. But thanks again, Nicole. Pass back to you.
Yes, thank you all so much. I think that was an awesome session. You guys had great stories, great advice. I think no matter your role, industry, whatever the case may be, people can really get a lot of value from what you shared today. Any unanswered questions we'll pass along to the team. The recording will go out tomorrow, so feel free to share with colleagues, friends, whoever. But thank you, Yuji, Courtney, Maddie, Shamil. Really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for joining us today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.